Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Council of the Town of Oakville for Monday, September 17th. If you would be kind enough to rise and join Council, we would welcome your participation in singing O Canada. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Now, the way our meeting works, I'll next read our prayer, followed by our moment of silence, and then we'll begin the business of the meeting. God, grant us understanding and patience, that justice, truth, and honesty may be evident in our decisions. Make us mindful of the needs of the people throughout the town of Oakville. Help us govern in the wider community in mind, and create in us a desire for progress and responsible action. We ask this in your name. Amen. Thank you, everyone. Madam Clerk, do we have any regrets? I don't see anybody missing.
No, Mr. Mayor, we do not.
Although it is hard to see in here, but I know you're there somewhere. Council, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Thank you. You have before you the minutes of the previous meetings of Council on August 13th and September 10th, and the confidential minutes of the closed session on September 10th. How do you wish to, Councillor Duddick? Seconded by Councillor Robinson. Any changes? All in favor? Opposed? The minutes are adopted. Now, we have no public presentations listed for this agenda, and that brings us to our standing committee reports. I expect, let me check, are there any separations from the standing committee reports wanted this evening? Councillor Elgar?
Yes, the admin services, item number 8.
All right. So, Council, given that almost all of our guests are here for another item, with your indulgence, I'll just shift the agenda around a touch so that we can do that. And we'll move to requests for reports. Now Chair will recognize Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Worship. I'm just wondering whether or not we could pass the CSC and all the other items in ASC and then come back to the issue that Councillor Elgar wants to separate. Doesn't matter?
I'll just ask you to take the floor and go to the item that I've asked you to do.
Well, this is a request for a report by the Mayor for a resolution on the CAW Auto Policy 10-point recommendation plan. The recommendation plan lays out the groundwork for a competent and integral auto policy here in Canada as a result of a meeting attended by the Mayor and several members of the CAW. The recommendation for Council is to adopt to prepare a report for the following resolution. Number 1, implement an integrated auto policy. Number 2, negotiate Canadian manufacturing footprint. Number 3, a consistent and transparent auto investment strategy. Number 4, public minority equity stakes in OEMs. Number 5, investigate possibility of building Canadian OEM. Number 6, rethink automotive trade policy. 7, intervene to reduce the Canadian dollar. Number 8, building a green auto industry. Number 9, a buy Canadian vehicle procurement strategy. And number 10, investing in human and physical infrastructure, Your Worship. And I
Thank
believe
you.
we have a...
Is
Sorry.
there a seconder for the request? Councillor Knoll, thank you. Councillor Duddick.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. Is there any way we can get that on the overhead rather than just having it read? Usually we get a copy of the written report.
Yes, we attempted to do that. I can put on, I guess we could put on the folded version of this.
Sure. Although I'd call the councillor's attention, it's a request for report, not a motion. So,
realize that, but nonetheless, because there were various aspects to it, I'd like to know.
sure. We'll fire that up there for you. Councillor Duddick?
Demar.
Councillor Demar?
It's okay, we're interchangeable. Can you explain for the...
I did say it's hard to see.
Yeah, I know. For the public, what a request for report is versus a motion?
All right. A request for report is a procedural, no, that's not quite right. So a request for report is a procedural movement in our parliamentary rules that starts the process to get a motion in front of council. And the alternative way, when you're sure that you've got a motion, and you don't want to do any research on it, and you don't want to have any discussions about it, is to bring a notice of motion where you actually draft the motion and you put that before council, and then there's no vote on a notice of motion, and the next council meeting, council then debates and decides to adopt or not that motion. So the rules around a request for report are that to avoid staff spending time on a report that council may not want, council votes on whether or not to approve a request for report. In this particular case, the request is for a report from the mayor, and so there may be less of a concern about the use of public assets when it comes to that. So, Councillor Duddick.
Sorry, there was a preamble to this, was there not?
The preamble was basically just to say, yes, there was, and basically the councillor said that he was bringing a request for a report from the mayor on developing a resolution for council to implement the CAW National Auto Strategy. Those are the 10 points that they're looking for.
Thank you. It was the developing a resolution that I was unclear about.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is a first date. You're not getting married.
Your Worship, if I could just ask that you clarify, I think that a lot of the people here today are under the misapprehension that they'll have an opportunity to speak on this item.
When we bring back the actual report and it's on the agenda, that's when we'll have, under our rules, the opportunity for the public to speak. Councillor Adams.
Just one, for the audience's sake, I presume that this will come through perhaps the Admin Service Committee as a first step to coming to council? In terms of members of the public who might wish to follow and track what's going on?
It could, but the public may very well wish to come to council and to speak here. We do bring things. This type of work doesn't typically go to an administrative committee or either standing committee. It may well be that this would be I will keep that in mind as I write the report, and we will see where we bring it. But my instinct right now is to bring it to council, because it's really a deliberative council matter. The difficulty with standing...
I'm sorry, just
for the public's benefit, sending it to a standing committee has the virtue that the rules are relaxed and more people can speak more freely, is the presumption, but only half of council is there. And as a result, people almost always then want to come to council and say it again anyway. And so for a matter that's semi-political like this, it's my opinion that it's probably more appropriate to come to council. If the councillors will wish to have it dealt with at committee, then when I bring it, you'll be able to move to refer it to committee. Okay. Anyone else? All right, then, all those in favor of the request for report? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much, Councillor Khan and Councillor Knoll.
Your worship, before the room clears, I understand that you had some congratulatory remarks as well.
Well, I was very pleased at the Halton Women's Place fundraiser a week ago that so many people from the CAW showed out to raise so much money for that worthy cause and demonstrate yet again what a huge contribution the CAW makes to our community in this town. And I looked, and all of a sudden I noticed that no less than Ken Loenza had joined us, as well as everyone, so many people from the local. And I thought that was a terrific show of interest and concern for our community, and I thanked him very much for taking the time from the negotiations to be there. And I teased him that he must think the negotiations were going pretty well to be able to take time away like that. And I've heard a rumor that something was announced this evening on the radio about those negotiations, so perhaps his confidence was well placed. Well, anyway, thank you very much for coming, and what we've done is we've rearranged the flow of the business so that you didn't have to sit through an hour of other stuff that you might not be interested in. And let me just check. Will you stay for the rest of our proceedings, or shall I call a brief recess so that you can leave without disrupting the meeting? I'll call a recess. We have a 5-minute recess. Thank you. Yes, and what with being in a recess, it's even legal to do that. All right, Council, we'll now resume our meeting, and as long as we're down at the end of the agenda with the request for reports, I understand we have 2 others, and we may as well dispatch those. I don't believe they're in any way controversial. Do you have them at your desks? Councillor Robinson, would you like to speak to yours?
Didn't think we were going to be speaking to it. I just would appreciate council supporting it. It's a small, minute part of the procedure that we just approved recently, and I'm looking for this to be reconsidered again, a bit of it for 2013. And the way it is right now, if some senior is under the cap of $26,410, they qualify for the $500 rebate. However, if part of their income, even though it's under the $26,410, is from room rental, they don't qualify. And I think that's a basic mistake. And our tax expert, Eric, had told me that it was a bit confusing and in a bit of a state that should be looked at. She did say that to me.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The request for report is approved. Councillor Knoll, would you like to say anything about yours?
Yeah, without engaging in any kind of promotion of the concept or debate, I just wanted to state that this is really a stopgap suggestion that in case the bingo operator is not able to proceed, that we do provide potentially, or we look at the opportunity to provide an outlet for local charities to continue to engage in bingo schemes going forward. So that's really all this is it's basically putting I want to find out there's an opportunity to put something in our quiver of potential opportunities and solutions for the charitable sector.
So if I can rephrase, it's really a pure research report.
That's
so the
all it
council
is.
knows what its options
We
are.
need to know our options going forward because this is going to come back at some point and we need to know all of the facts.
All right. All right, any others? All in favor? Opposed, if any? And that request for report is also approved. So now, let's go back to the standing committee. And item 8 of the Administrative Services Committee has been held by Councillor Elgar. And Councillor Elgar.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I found the report a little thin on detail, and I'm just wondering, since we're looking at spending over $3 million, if there's any way we can do something for a lot less. It's a fair amount of coin to move a few doorways, and I'm trying to, I must be missing something big here, because the number's big, and I can't see where it's really required at that degree.
Through you, Mayor Burton, thank you very much, Councillor, and I appreciate very much your question. This project, though, is actually a conglomeration of a number of activities. First and foremost, we do get into service counter for Service Oakville, but also the construction of a call center. One of the key activities to the Service Oakville is a consolidation of all of our customer service into one entity through a call center. So a call center is actually a large part of this. In addition, there is work there going on in a number of areas of Town Hall, not just at the front entrance. In fact, really dealing with the front entrance was not one of the prime objectives, but recognizing changes that went on, it was noted that the difficulties we've had over the years, that we would look at how to make adjustments there. But some of the other key areas, you'll recall the former police department building that was out there. There are still areas that we have to deal with respect to the former tunnels that came into this building that need to be dealt with. There is the shipping and receiving areas, which are on the north side of this building, which due to health and safety actually require rebuilding. That's a health and safety issue. There is also the improved accessibility for disability. So there's actually a large number of activities occurring, plus the rebuilding of the various community rooms with a new front, as well as, again, in some office space to actually put off the longer-term need to actually begin to add any addition. So there's about 5 or 6 major areas that were reviewed at ASC that highlighted the various components of this project. So it's not just a front entrance and a counter for just over $3 million. It's actually a variety of changes in the building, as well as some repairs to this building as well. Again, of course, it's always subject to the competitive tendering, and you know, we'll see what the bids actually come in, but this is the initial estimate.
If we were to scale it back, what would be the most critical pieces that we would do?
Well, certainly we have to go forward with the Service Oakville, the call center, which is a large component, the areas of the previous police building, the health and safety issues with respect to the shipping and receiving area. Those are key areas there. If that front entranceway was not to go, we'd actually have to probably get back into some redesign to scale this project back. So this is not a design that's been incremental and draw a line here. It was, in terms of the front, a new concept being built. So there would have to be some redoing of the architectural work.
Notice in what was approved at Admin Services, there was talk of more modifications to the council chamber, and it was put off until to look at it 2014.
That's correct.
Can you expand on that a little bit of what you would do? It seemed like a lot of money to remove just a prisoner's box, but and I can understand why they might have moved it off.
Well, there was the judge's diocese and the prisoner's box that were being removed. I'm not sure what the value of that work is. I'm not that familiar with that part of the project.
I thought it was around 80,000 more was required. I thought that's what I'd heard. I could be wrong.
Councillor, it's been put off in any event, so it's already had a bit of staging, as you're looking for, due to the work at the committee.
Okay, but what I'm thinking is, if the prisoner's box is an issue for the councillors over there because of the lack of space, how much would it cost to remove that? Or could we get a Sawzall and fix it up for them?
Well, Councillor,
I think most of the work was actually the judge's diocese.
if you look behind you at this huge edifice behind you that takes up so much room, I mean, to be fair, it's not just the prisoner's box. It's all of this as well. So anyway, but it's moot. It's put off. the recommendation before us is to not do it.
I was just wondering if we did one portion, what is the biggest thing that needs to be done in here for the least cost that would give us the biggest bang for the buck, is what I was trying to bring forward tonight at this meeting.
We've put up with it this way, and the bottleneck over there, I just saw it happen again for a long time, and we can wait until 2014 if that's the wish of the committee that's before us.
Yeah, that was my concern. For something like that, I was saying maybe we don't have to wait other than another couple of weeks and just blow it away.
All right.
That's all.
Well, perhaps staff could take a direction to develop an answer for the question of what it would be to deal with the prisoner's box alone, and they can bring that back at the next cycle. I have, if you add Councillor Khan to this list, we have 4 other councillors. Are you good now? Councillor Duddock.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I note that there's an icon on our presentation that there might be a staff presentation for some regarding the renovations that are going to be taking place. Was there anything that was going to be shared this evening for the ones who didn't have the advantage of having seen it at ASC?
Through you, Mayor Burton, we weren't planning the presentation. I was actually surprised when I seen it there. Unfortunately, tonight, Gord Lalone and Shelley Switzer. Shelley is celebrating Rosh Hashanah, and Gord Lalone is on vacation. They were the two that have been carrying the presentation. Unless, Sahir, you would be able to go through that again?
You want to sit through the whole presentation? I'll give it a try. If you want to see the presentation, or you want to see particular slides of what we are doing, we can just run you through the slides. Either or. Okay.
Right, committee. Through you, Mayor Burton, I appreciate there's a great interest on the part of all councillors. What we could do, we did the presentation at Admin Services. It could also be redone in 2 weeks' time at Community Services, which would let the other half of council see it, and then return it to the next.
So could we have a mover and a seconder to table this item? Councillor Khan and Councillor Adams?
Or defer. Is it defer?
No, I'm certain I want to table it. And after Community Services has had their presentation, we'll pick it up again here. Wouldn't be proper to send it to the committee for a vote. It's not their proper material, and the real issue is just they'd like a presentation. It's not available here, so we will wait, enable them to have the presentation, and then we'll pick the matter up again.
So, Mr. Mayor, could I suggest to be tabled until such time as the Community Services Committee presentation has been made to be brought back? So that's in your resolution.
It's not necessary. The council has the power to pick a thing up from the table whenever it wishes. All it has to do is bring it doesn't need a notice of motion. It's a live matter when it's tabled. So I'd like a mover and seconder for a motion to table until the next council meeting. Councillor Khan and Councillor Adams, and that helps you?
That helps me, thank you.
All in favor? Opposed, if any, and the matter is tabled. I would look for a mover and seconder for the rest of the standing reports and the confidential report of the closed session of the Administrative Services Committee. Councillor Johnston moves all of them. Councillor Knoll seconds all of them. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that also carries. We only have one other item, so I don't really see the need for resolving in the Committee of the Whole. That item being the discussion item on the order paper of the new Oakville Hospital name. Councillor Bird.
I think it's self-explanatory, the process, and I'm pleased that the motion seems to have got received a positive reception by the Halton Health Services Board at their meeting, and that it will be being their process is, so the final decision will be made by Halton Health Services. So we're one more step, but at least Oakville has, this council has a position, and I'm pleased that, hopefully that we unanimously support the recommendation.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bird, for your leadership on this matter. Are there any other speakers to the matter? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And that does carry. You have your information items, which have been circulated electronically, and your status of outstanding issues report. And I now ask if there's new business by way of a notice of motion or emergency or congratulatory or condolence. And I turn to Councillor Duddick.
Thank you, Your Worship. This past Sunday, the Terry Fox Run took place, and we had Team Max, which did extremely well, and we raised in excess of $100,000 at this year's Terry Fox Run. But we had an additional pleasure to that whole event. Leading the way, we had Councillor Robinson, who was first awarded the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Award medal. And we now have a second recipient on council, and that's Councillor Pam DeMoff. And she was recognized by the MPP and by everybody present for all her fine volunteer work that she's done in the community, not only with Terry Fox, but Santa Claus Parade, Relay for Life. It goes on and on and on, but congratulations.
Thank you very much, Councillor Duddick, and congratulations, and thank you, Councillor DeMoff. We're all looking forward to your next extravaganza, known as, in your role as head elf for the Santa Claus Parade. As well, maybe this is an appropriate time as well to congratulate the many members of the Palermo Church who turned out yesterday for their celebration of their 200th anniversary. And I think the most interesting thing about the Palermo Church is not, I mean, as awesome as it is that they're 200 years old and continuously operating and all of that, they seeded 25 of the other churches we now have here in Oakville. So they were more than just pioneers, and they did more than just clear stones out of the field. They planted a few churches around Oakville as well. In fact, the little village of Palermo was so thriving, they actually, now it's a United Church today, but some time ago, and I don't know, I wish I could remember when, and they actually told me, and so I'm at fault for not remembering, but some time ago, a whole bunch of churches joined together to form the United Church, and they're a United Church now. But there's a distinct Methodist flavor still to this particular church, and they told a wonderful story. Founder, Mr. Hager, there was enough interest in religion and enough people, they afforded themselves 2 Methodist churches. And they were within walking distance of each other. And Mr. Hager was taken, he was a very outspoken man, and the Methodist Church is kind of open to participation from the floor, so to speak, and they didn't have notices of motion. And he had his own chair, and he would bring his chair to the church service, and he would sit it down near the preacher, and as the preacher would preach, he would debate the sermon with him. And if he didn't like what he was hearing, he'd pick his chair up, and he'd walk out, and he'd go over to the other church and finish the service over there, perhaps picking on the minister over there. And back and forth he went. So I thought that was such a wonderful, colorful piece of Oakville history that was certified to us by the minister of the church, so it must be true, that it had to be aired for your amusement and for your historical edification. And while I'm on the subject of announcements, it's my great pleasure to thank everybody on the town staff and in the public who volunteered to put on such a fabulous Olympic parade. And what a great job they did. And thank goodness they did such a great job, because the national news media came and they taped it. And on the CTV News at 6 o'clock on Saturday, we were a pretty prime display, and we looked terrific. To quote Councillor Duddick, CTV News made it look like the Oscars of sport. So it's a good thing we looked good, because I think we did the town proud, and I really appreciate the work that everyone on staff did. It shows yet again what a wonderful bunch of people work for the town and how they really can turn out and overachieve, and we love it. So thank you very much for that. Yes. It's not against the rules if we do it, right? So the other two announcements are that on October 9th and October 10th, not only will we revisit this renovation matter, but on the 9th, there will be a special council meeting the hour before the regular council meeting for the purposes of giving you the annual town status report that I give every year at this time. And the following night, on October 10th, is the birthday party, or the 87th birthday of former Mayor Harry Barrett. And tickets are $100, and if you'd like to be there, please see me. And I know it would mean a lot to him to see you there, so I do hope that your schedules will permit you to join us and celebrate his many years of service to our town. Does anyone else have any announcements? I'm out now. All right, then we come to regional reports and question period for town boards and advisory committees. Councillor Adams?
It was such an important announcement about the birthday party that we wanted to be said again.
Especially the date part.
Especially the date part.
And the time.
And the time. And where you get the tickets again? I missed that.
So, Tuesday, the 10th of October. Sorry. Oh, that's right, it's the holiday. Thank you. Wednesday, Monday not being, the 9th not being Monday, the 9th being Tuesday. I'm slow on that. But there's a holiday, a Thanksgiving holiday, isn't there? So thank you very much. So Wednesday, the 10th of October, 7 p.m. at Seasons. Tickets are $100, and you can only get them from me. So when you have $100, see me. That's everything, right?
I think you got the advertising right there.
Okay, good. Because I'd like to say it again. No. So regional reports and question period, anything? All right, thank you. Then in that case, we've dispatched requests for reports, and we need a mover and seconder for the bylaws. Councillor Khan, Councillor Grant, thank you. This is for bylaw 2012-80, 82, and 92. All those in favor? Opposed? All those in favor? Oh, that's enough to pass. It's carried. Thank you very much. The bylaws are adopted. That completes our agenda. And I thank you for your time and attention. And it's been great working with you. And we are adjourned.